not perfectly in the cut lines of the trench.
So then this winter, as it was this past winter, water gets down in there and then it freezes and then the whole street is just destroyed.
In the cracks or in the center of the street?
In the side cracks. I mean, you cut it out this way
Sure.
and then you filled it in, only you made it a bowl. Instead of making it a crown, you made it a bowl. So, and then these side parts are just flaking out. And so those side cuts are, in some places you can actually see the side cut.
Mhm.
And there will no longer, I mean, it won't even take a year, maybe 2 years at most before we won't have a street.
So I'm bound by a contract. I'm only allowed to do what I'm contracted to do. My contract requires me to pave that strip. If there is a dip in it, I will bring that up to the engineer. We will go walk that and take a look at it. We can put a water truck to it and see exactly where the drainage issues are. Water will tell you everything. If there's a bird bath, it'll show up there. So
It does, and I've taken the pictures and the videos.
Sure.
So I have those.
So we'll run our water truck up there, take a look at it. If there's some problem spots, we'll take care of them.
Okay, the other part is that in reviewing a contract, and I did read the whole contract. You were online last year and I realized that it was pandemic and I know that there's workforce issues, but part of last year was that you were gonna come to the end and then run street cleaners up every street and pick up all this dust, and it didn't happen. And for 5 weeks we had great weather, but nobody here working. And I would come to city council. I mean, it was almost embarrassing with the engineer, and I would say, "So, are you gonna get the street cleaners out? We're tired of living with this dust." I have people in my ward, I have 2 that have just, I wish they would come on, I wish they would zoom in, who have terrible breathing problems and call me on a weekly basis to tell me how much dust is in their house. And we just need you to get that done.
Sure. So there was an issue with pandemic and supply chain issues, and some materials that construction companies rely on is rental equipment. The rental market is a real mess right now. I had a hook on a pickup broom. I couldn't get one in. We tried and tried to get one in. We own a skid steer. We're more than happy to come sweep the streets. I mean, we'd come do it on a Saturday if we had a broom available to us. But I couldn't get a broom last year. And by the time that I could have, we had snow and it was muddy, and there's certain conditions you can't sweep those streets in. If it's muddy at all, you can't do it.
Unfortunately, we had 5 good weeks. 5 good weeks of great weather in October and no sweeping. The city owns a street sweeper.
Sure, and I just couldn't get my hands on a sweeper. I apologize for the inconvenience. I know it sounds a little bit ridiculous, but a sweeper is $10,000. I can't afford to go buy a sweeper for one project. So normally rental is not a problem. Given the times, I just can't get one.
Well, I'm gonna make a silly suggestion. The city has a sweeper and could not get anybody to sit in it and run it. You have the person who can sit in it and run it, but you don't have the sweeper. Possibly you and Todd could talk.
We could have that conversation.
I'm gonna keep hammering on this, every single meeting.
Sure.
We've gotta get these streets clean. We do.
Sure.
And it's not fair that we should have to go into the summer months with this mess. I mean, people drive into our beautiful little town and they go, "This town is filthy." It's absolutely filthy. So we need to get that done. When you say that everything will be The paver will come in, so you're expecting to be done by mid-June at the latest.
Now, don't forget, schedules can slip. Just like they slipped earlier, I can't be held to that. I mean, we dug up 3 lines out here that were not on the plans, nobody knew they were there. That all takes time to deal with. So when there's unexpected things that aren't in my contract, I still have to deal with them. Those things can push my schedule.
What I want you to understand, and what I keep telling the council when we have meetings, that these people have lived through 2 years of pandemic.
Sure,
And now we're hitting them on the 3rd year with this.
sure.
We need to, do you have the second crew hired?
Yeah, they're here.
Because that was an issue last year. We were told that you were gonna run 2 crews, and then suddenly there wasn't 2 crews.
So it wasn't a crew shortage though. I had the guys. I put in 15,000 feet of water line in Butte last year, but I could get the materials. For Dillon, I could not get the materials to run 2 crews here. To run 2 crews, I have to have enough materials for them to actually have things to install. There was not enough materials here to install, and it was just things that I could not get. There was nothing I could do to get those materials, to get them here any sooner than they got here. I didn't get the last shipment of fire hydrants until December.
So do you have all of the materials?
Yep,
All of the crew?
yep. Everything's here. There's
Do you
4
have a street
excavators.
sweeper?
Do I own a street sweeper?
Do you have you rented one? Have they delivered it?
They're still not in, but I will make something work. We will get the streets cleaned, and whether I have to hire it out or whatever we have to do, we will get the streets cleaned.
Okay, you need to get that Orr Street cleaned. There's a woman that had to leave her home that lives on Orr Street because of the dust, and she would like to come home. And it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Okay. I think that's my main questions. Good luck, and thank you for being here. And I hope that this year goes better than next year.
I hope so too. Thank you. You had a question?
Yep. Rob Thomas, I live at 324 South Washington. So we were part of the Dust Bowl gang. We still don't have the spur lines paved. So there's a big muck hole in front of my house. And there has been since you guys left. And you left, the weather was pretty damn good, and nobody cleaned the streets. I've got brooms in my garage. We almost went out and broomed the area in front of our house just to stop the dust, but it hardly matters because the wind blows from the southwest, and if you don't do up the street, then you're getting all the dust from up the street, blowing from southwest to northeast. So it's a problem. I'm amazed. If this were to happen in any urban center in the United States, there'd be lawsuits up the wazoo. It's just amazing what we've put up with on Washington Street. It is a mess. It is not dust. It is gravel and dust that is there. And then these spur lines that are not covered, and now it's mud. And it has been mud off and on as it got uncovered from thawing that occurred during the wintertime. It's also subsiding. So Mary Jo is correct. The patch is not working. It was not compacted. We watched them do the job. I worked in the geotechnical industry for years. I know what a properly installed compacted fill looks like, and nobody had a density gauge or did anything to test any
So there are
input.
density gauges, they're all documented, and we have,
Never saw one pull
we are
out.
required to do a density test every 300 feet. The engineer, trust me, he makes me get the
Okay, well,
density guy out there.
they didn't work because that's the bottom line. It doesn't really matter whether they did or they didn't. It didn't work. The street is subsiding. And so the sidewalk that was torn up is starting to now cave in to the hole that's being generated by the street caving in. So all the concrete work has started to go to hell in front of our house that was done to fix the sidewalk. Not to mention that they covered in the cement, they covered the access to the water line. So
You can't turn the water
you
off.
can't turn the water off. It's like, really? This was an improvement. So our access point, right, for turning the water off at the street is gone now. It's covered in concrete. They literally covered it over in concrete. That was not the case before because the concrete person who did the job did it correctly and made a little bowl area around that so that it was, it was accessible. So, the bottom line is, I'm like Corey, I'm not a fan. The data I see suggests that the job was done poorly. We've lived with gravel and dust for months and months and months, and we have these spur lines that are not even covered, that are heaving and are forming a muck mess for anyone who parks in front of our house, including us. We don't, because I don't even pull in front of the house because the car is going to be, like I
It's
drove.
cleaner to drive in the
It is.
in the alley.
It is
than
cleaner to
is
drive in the
on
alley.
on our paved roads.
Yeah, it is. And the other thing that's happening is that whoever's genius idea was to pave just over the trench, now everyone drives right down the middle of the street. I kid you not. I'm one of them. I drive right down the middle of the street on the little paved strip, and everyone else does it.
I think this
And
is
it's-
symptomatic of the contract in part. I
Uh-huh.
mean, this is, and I don't know the details of the contract, but we purchased our property in part because we had lived on the other side of Atlantic Street, and that is a royal mess over there in terms of the streets and the heating and the way those roads were constructed. We purchased our property because it was a part of downtown where the roads were intact and drivable, and they are no longer drivable. And I want to know what the city intends to do about it. It's
Mhm.
not okay just to strip patch these areas and watch them fall apart. We bought into a intact neighborhood, and I expect to see it returned back to the condition that it was in.
Yeah, we're losing property value as a result of this happening.
And I don't want to see what happened to our street happen to our downtown, which is, you're worried about schedules. We have to worry about the impact of what the city contracted in terms of the expectations of the quality of work that we all want to see where we live and work on a day-to-day, year-to-year, decade-to-decade existence. It's not okay just to say, we patched it, we walked away, it was good when we left. I want to know that it's going to be intact 20 years from now.
Is that a question for me? Yeah, my product is warranted. If there's an issue with it, the engineer will bring it to my attention and we'll fix it.
So what is the schedule for going back and finishing the job that didn't get done last year?
And when do they plan to pave the spur lines?
So he will be in to pave those spur lines the end of May. Our other option last year was to either stop at Orr Street and go home in July, or get as much main line in as we could, and they got the center line paved and they couldn't get the side streets paved. So it was either get as much water line in as possible, or stop and drag this out even longer. And I understand, I get that it's dusty and it's not fun for anybody, it's not fun for me either. I apologize for the inconvenience. We try to do as best we can with what we've got, last year was a little funky. My original contract was 180 days. We were supposed to be in and out of here, cleaned up, done and paved and gone last year. I couldn't get the materials. There was nothing I could do to make it happen any faster than what it did. So it's not ideal, but it is the situation we're in. I do appreciate people's patience. I understand that they're wearing a little thin, but we will do anything we can to try to make this as painless as possible.
Well,
I think
I
that was a
also-
very good question there, though, that I guess I'm not hearing the answer. And I don't know if it's Mr. Hand, who was part of that contract making and is chairman of the city council, or if it's our mayor or our director of operations. What is the plan to return our streets to their pre-dug up condition? What is that, where is that plan? What is that plan?
That would be the contract itself, which was the timeline that Skip was talking about here, which had to be slid, unfortunately. You're seeing part of that slide. They weren't able to do it, and plus, towards the end of the season there, the paving plant's all shut down as well. So that's why part of it we're left with gravel. He just couldn't get the material to do it.
Well, Dawn, there are many areas where they did pave, but they paved quickly, and that pavement didn't work. I mean, it just didn't work.
Yes.
It
Once again, I've
all,
asked the engineer to go back and review that.
it all fell into this, into the bowls.
So that's in progress. And I'm sure,
This is why we have a warranty. If there is an issue, there's a warranty. We're on the hook to come fix it if there is an issue.
Okay, maybe this would help. We're here to tell you that there's an issue.
And so we can't remedy issues overnight, but it is on our radar. We will take a look at it, and if there is an issue, we will fix it. So it's not gonna freeze over the winter or the summer. If there is a problem, we will get it fixed.
I would like to raise an issue for the record.
Sure.
I live at 324 South Washington. I have no way to turn off my water if there's an issue. I'm gonna sue the city if I have a problem with my water and I can't turn it off. So I'd like to see that remedy.
What's your address again?
324 South Washington.
I will look at it
My line is
tomorrow.
cemented in. Pardon me?
I'll look at it tomorrow,
Okay,
and if there's a problem, we'll take care of it.
thank you.
See, I think when she says my valve, my street shut-off valve is covered with cement.
The street valve or the house valve?
It was where you turn off your water at
At
the
the
street.
street, it's
Yeah.
in the concrete, at the sidewalk.
So when he redid the sidewalk, he covered it. It's not accessible.
I can't turn off water to my house
Okay,
from
I'll,
the street.
I'll take a look at it tomorrow.
good terminology, there's curb box.
Curb blocks?
Box.
Box.
Curb box.
It's the curb box. Yeah, okay, my curb box is concreted in.
I know if they have to get to it, they're gonna chip out all the concrete on the top to get to it.
Well, I'd like to see it well done,
But ought to be
because it was a
exposed.
beautiful job in the, in its pre-existence.
Yeah,
We actually care about the look of our
We
place.
spent thousands of dollars replacing our sidewalks. It was flush, it was beautiful.
I stripped the place with a heat gun and a putty knife, and now it's covered in dust. It's not rumors.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Sure.
You haven't started on the front of my place yet.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous. I'm really nervous. I own the laundromat down here on Virginia and Montana Street,
Sure.
and we're on the corner. I noticed today they cut my curb box
Mm-hmm,
is right in front of my door, what a dandy place, it's always been there.
sure.
So they've cut there, I noticed now they've also cut where my cars park to get to my place, to get their laundry out, to take it in. They've cut a strip down there to another curb box, which I didn't know there was a curb box there. I don't even know what that curb box is for, because the one in front of my door shuts my place off.
Mm-hmm.
I presume it's to get to the fire hydrant. I do not know. I just
Oh,
never-
yeah, so there's a fire hydrant right on the corner of
Yeah.
Montana and Virginia right there, so yeah.
Is that what that's
That,
for?
that portion of Maine, so most of the mains in town have been shifted to the center of the street. Instead of removing the old line, we're just abandoning that in place and putting the new line in the middle. Your street is one of the 3, I think, in town where we're removing and replacing the old line.
And just sticking it in the same place?
So the old line runs right there in front of your shop.
Yeah.
And so what we'll do, we're gonna do our tie-in, there'll be a water shut off, you'll get a notice before we do that. But we'll tie into that valve, and then we should be able to get that run of pipe in front of your shop done right away, and then backfill it and you'll have parking there again.
Okay.
And we're not gonna shut Virginia down completely, it'll be a little restricted, but we're not gonna shut that street down, just because it is kind of the mains offset into the right of way there. Your curb stop though, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna dig down, unhook you, and then hook in the temporary water that's up on top of the ground. We'll hook that in through underground.
Oh, underground.
So it'll just be a couple hours, you'll be out of water, we'll have you hooked back into water. Parking will be shut down for about half a day.
Oh, okay.
So, but we'll get it dug up, hooked in, backfilled, and then open the parking back up. It'll be a gravel strip until they get it paved, but, we'll gravel it back in and have your parking back, so
So this all be kinda done in one day then?
ideally.
Because I'll just shut down for one day, so I don't have somebody trip and fall and get sued or something,
Yep,
you know,
yep.
I'll just shut down. Cause I don't want the gravel getting into the water line either to get into my washers, cause that
Sure.
would cause a big problem.
I don't want that either.
Yeah. So if I know, I do work here in the city, I'm not there,
Sure,
I check it at lunch and I'm there at night, but my number is in big letters on the outside of the door. So
Okay.
they can call my cell phone and I
Sure.
will shut the place down.
and I think a couple of guys said they've talked to you already.
Yes, I talked to, they're super guys, man, they're nice guys.
They are nice guys.
And I told them how well this guy could run this backhoe, or this excavator out here. Oh man, they do a good job. And he says, oh, don't tell them that
Don't
was
tell
dead.
them, give them a big
Yeah,
head.
yeah. So I'm gonna tell them that they do very good work. So,
There you go.
alright, so that's what I just kinda wanted to know what was gonna happen.
Yeah, and so there should be a flyer coming out, it'll have my name and phone number, plus the superintendent's name and phone number on it, so. And he stays in Dillon, so he's always available. Something happens, temp water gets ran over, burst, something like that, there's always somebody around.
Well, I was just worried about how long it'd have to be closed, or people getting in and out, or somebody falling into a trench if it was gonna be like this or something, you know, I didn't. I
No,
wanted
so
to see.
it'll be nothing like this. We'll
Okay.
dig through, backfill it, get all the excess spoils out, clean it up and put gravel back in.
Okay.
And it should all happen in a day.
Okay, so that valve, that curb box right in front of the door,
Mhm.
you're gonna hook under the ground to that?
Yep, so
To
we'll
let
hook
you know
in.
that curb box doesn't work,
It will when we're done.
okay? It hasn't worked since I've owned the place, so if I have a catastrophe, they have to shut me off down on Idaho Street.
Sure,
down there,
sure.
so.
And so when we hook your temp water in underground, we'll bury that. There'll be no hole or anything, there'll just be a hose going underground
Okay,
and then we'll have to dig it back up when it's time to hook it back in. And there'll be another short shutdown to hook you back into the live main.
and then you'll cement that back and then blacktop the other stuff that you?
Yep, everything will get repaved and you got a pretty good, nice chunk of pavement out in front of your shop. Down the
Yeah.
block, it's a little
Yeah,
busted up and crummy, but
it's-
they'll repave it and,
Okay. Yeah, we paid for that ourselves, just because the city didn't go that far, so
Sure.
it looked nice, so.
Yep.
Thank you.
yep, you're welcome.
So that's it. So you guys are doing all the streets that are going this way too?
So we're doing Bannock and Virginia.
Oh,
And that's it. We did Orr Street, but those are the only streets that run north-south?
Would be north.
East-west.
East-west? Yeah, and Dylan's laid out kind of northwest. So yeah, those are the only 3 cross streets that are getting done. Otherwise, it's just all the way up Washington and Idaho.
So not center at all?
No,
Okay. Somebody had said that was, I was like, well,
I'm pretty sure there's no center, right?
yeah.
No, yeah.
Maybe just paint and then everybody paints.
Well, and we'll do a cut back into the intersection a little ways. So
Okay.
there'll be new stop
Maybe
bars
that's
and all
what it
that
is.
stuff, and
Okay.
ADA ramps and stuff like that, so. Like I said, I apologize for any inconvenience. I know construction's messy and it's dusty and it's a pain in the butt for everybody. If there is a problem, call me. I will do my best to try to make it right. Like I said, my guys we're not above packing trash cans to the end of the street or baskets of laundry into the laundromat or groceries into the house. We're here to help and try to make this as painless as possible.
Clean the streets.
I'm on it.
Talk to Tom.
Jeremy, does anybody have any questions?
Nobody's asked, so.
Okay.
Usually I don't let them ask questions. That's been all night answering questions. I made that mistake at the
That's what
coronavirus
you're
thing
doing.
at the high school.
And I just want to say thank you, because a lot of us are business owners and we're on the pavement every day and talking and,
Sure.
so this is good because we can relay messages.
Yep.
And you guys have been really nice anyways and your guys coming in and stuff, so I just, like I said, cheer you on.
Sure. Take my number, call me if there's a problem. Like I said, we'll do what we can to make it right. We won't always be able to make it right away, but we'll do our best to try to accommodate. So if there's a parking issue or if there's a truck of something coming in, generally, we don't have to move it with shovels. We've got plenty of iron to move dirt, so if we need to get a truck in to delivery or anything, we've had people move in or something like that, we can blaze a trail, get you in and out. Just let me know.
I would like to hear from the city, what is your active involvement with quality control and making certain that the job is getting done to the standards that you've set in the contract? Because I think for these issues, as a resident, our issues are about the quality of the job that's getting done and what we're gonna be left with long-term.
Todd, I'll let you handle that one.
Well, whether there's Dell Engineering, Kevin Johnson has been hired as the head engineer to evaluate their work and go along. John, I can't think of John's last name.
Step.
John Stout is always here every day, watching the project, evaluating what they're doing. And at the end of the project, we have to sign off on it, the city does. So we'll go through when they feel that they've completed the job. We'll walk through with the engineer, with Mr. Shumway, walk the streets, the whole project, and evaluate it. And if we feel it's complete and everything, all the testing that's been done, we'll sign off on it.
I think you have to ask yourself why it's okay to let the citizens of Dillon deal with the undone conditions for the last 6 to 8 months. That's not on the contractor, it's on you as the holders of the contract. And so I task you to make certain that things get done accordingly and don't get put off 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 months past when the major work was done. So that people don't have to deal with the punch list of things not working and being filthy and impacting our quality of living. That's on the city. That's not on Mungus Construction. That's on you.
And then one of the things, and as Mr. Shumway, ideally the contract was basically from June through November to get the whole project done. But we were, and it's just the way it was, is that not able to get the equipment, the piping, those type things to get the job done in that time frame. So that, and because of that, we're in the situation we are now. And it's one of
Talking
those,
about a 3-foot strip of road that wasn't sealed. I mean, please.
but
It
no,
has
it's,
created havoc in my neighborhood when you multiply it by the numbers of, you know, I don't know what you even call them, but the number of residents for these spur lines, you know. So I just think that you have to think about this in a holistic way. I understand that you're thinking about strip paving, but, you know, there's been more damage done by those little spur lines that should have been capped off at the same time that the strip was done. So think about this project as a whole. I mean, not, I mean, you're biting off another chunk when you haven't completed the first chunk. So, you know, think about that. For the benefit of this city, think about not overextending so that we're dealing with problems down the road that, yes, maybe Mungus met the terms of their contract, but really, let's have some common sense and do the job right all the way through, from beginning to end.
Well, and
That's my
I
opinion.
want to, you know, piggyback on that just a little bit. I mean, we voted in, not last night, but at our last council meeting, an additional $300,000 to this project because of the problems that happened last year with supply and manpower issues.
There was no manpower issues, it was materials. I had the crews to install the lines.
But you didn't have a street cleaner. You didn't have a machine. I mean, there were just problem after problem after problem. And what I'm saying is that the city has, the citizens of the city have bucked up and we voted in that $300,000 additional money to this project. And I guess the expectation is that when we get done, we'll have streets that were, they don't need to be better than they were before, but they need to be at the same level they were before.
My contract reads to as good or better.
I'm not looking for better, I'm just looking at as good.
Sure,
And I'm
has to
also
be expected.
looking for that on Orr Street. I mean, it's both Washington Street, and Washington Street's just a mess, but Idaho Street, there are the spur lines that are open, and there's a couple that are up at the corner of Idaho and Orr. And that, because that, I mean, if you drive up there, you cannot, I mean, I have pictures on my phone that you cannot believe how dusty and filthy that is from Idaho, the corner of Idaho and Orr, to Atlantic and Orr. And there is literally a resident who can't move back into her home because her asthma and emphysema is so bad, and that street is, I mean, it's unbelievable, unbelievable. I think someone mentioned that if this had happened in an urban center, there would be lawsuits up the wazoo. And I really impress on you that that street needs attention right away.
Sure.
Most of it just like to know from the city, why they thought that it was okay to patch the holes in the residential areas, but not right out here. And if they think that you might be able to rethink that with extra cash available to do the job right. The patching of holes in Dillon has never worked. A good example is Reeder Street, and the hole that never ended until they finally went in and did that whole block, side to side, end to end. And it is now holding because it was done correctly. We are all facing on Washington and on other streets that got patched a nightmarish future. I guarantee it. as Annalise said, it's on the city, because that was a decision made in terms of hiring Mungus to do X amount of work. A decision was made that that was adequate for the residential areas. But clearly not adequate for out here, because that looks like the whole street's coming up out there. And it's gonna be repaved. So, it's good to be working for the city, but not so good to be living on Washington Street. And yes, I did put that on Facebook. And I don't regret it, because that's a fact. It's being tore up and completely redone out in front of the city, but yet we will live with a partial job on Washington Street until the day we die or leave. And our property values have gone down. The city's responsible for that. So I guess it's a request that the city consider doing the job right, not half-assed. And I think that's about all I have.
I think Mayor and Mr. Weaselby would like to hear from.
Well, the alternatives then is we reconstruct those streets.
You're looking at either 6 blocks of total street reconstruction or 20 blocks of water main replacement and 3 blocks of street reconstruction.
For us to go down and basically do the street right, a block's probably gonna cost $200,000. Because you have to go down, remove 4 feet, get the clay out, do that whole rebuilding of that street.
Todd, it's about 500,000, according to the intersection on meter they're talking about. What's the figure
So, if you, let's just say you do 6 blocks, and it's about 250,000, let's just use that as the number, you're looking at $2 million and more. That then the taxpayers would have to pay. So why the what?
What was the thought behind that it would be okay to tear up our streets and not fix them?
Well, okay, the project isn't completed yet. As we've said, that there's the warranty, and that at the end of the project, we'll go back through and evaluate it. And if it's not done, as Kip's said, that there's the warranty, and we have the right not to approve the project until they get it right.
Is it possible that before the city approves this project and signs off on it, that we have another community meeting? Because I have a feeling that even with some of us talking on a, twice monthly at city council meetings, the city has not heard how bad it really is. And if you don't live in that neighborhood, you really don't get it, how bad it really is.
Okay, but again, this is really the first, well, we've known about the dust issue. But as I said earlier, people need to step forward and come call the city, let us know, so that we're not at meetings. This has been a great meeting, don't get me wrong there. But we have to call, ask the city questions. Instead of waiting until you get to meetings like this about the problem.
Is it possible to have a meeting before the city signs off on the
Sure.
project?
I have no issues with that.
Good. I think that, would that help things, do you think? Oh, they've already left.
Yeah.
Do you think that would help things, Sarah?
I think it's a great idea.
To have another meeting before we sign off?
Mhm.
So that the people who actually live and work in that area they know where the problem areas are.
Oh, yeah, that's. And Mr. Shumway's been generous enough to give you his phone number. So call as you see problems. Don't wait until the end of the project, so we can address them as you see them.
Oh, Todd, I stopped and talked to all your guys,
Okay, but,
twice a week last
Okay.
year.
but has anybody ever heard from Mr. Thomas, Dr. Thomas? No, other than Facebook. There's other people.
I think I've talked to you 3 years ago.
Yeah,
And-
Corey's been
and
great.
I've been talking about this, and it seems like no one's listening to what they're trying to do. Okay? This dust thing, yeah, I get dust, and there's nothing down there. I get dust every day. But you know what? I'll go and push a broom to make the city look good, okay? I won't point fingers at Todd or you, okay? I'll grab a broom and I'll go to Rob's house and I'll broom that off if I have to. And I know a bunch of other people that will too. But I'm sure Todd's gonna take care of it, so thank you.
Well, I want to speak to the city and thank you for getting this water project going and done before something happened and we had no water. That was the big issue too, and nobody's looked at that,
Some of the veins are
are
pretty
bad.
scroungy looking.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff we're pulling out of the ground is,
Are they wooded?
yeah, we haven't found any lead yet, but they're not in great shape, so.
So thank you for addressing it and getting it done.
And everybody in town has been really good to work with. We haven't ran into anybody that's been outlandishly over expectation. So we appreciate everybody, and Dylan kind of giving us a little grace. We know that we're making a mess and it is gonna be a little dirty for a little while, and there's some dust and mud on the streets and access issues, but get a hold of me if there's a problem. I'll do my best to try to take care of it.
And now tonight, I heard you referred to as Skip, Chip, and Kip. Which is it?
So it's Kip
Okay, I wanna make sure I got that right. I'm probably-
with 2 P's.
Okay. I appreciate you doing this tonight. I can't speak for anybody else, but this has helped me as a business owner to feel a little less anxious about it, so thanks.
Sure, you bet.
So you said your guys will help haul stuff in?
Oh, yeah.
Boxes of books are about 80 pounds. And I got 7 of them today.
They're young and spry. You just
Okay,
grab a
send them to
guy,
the bookstore Thursday morning.
grab a guy in an orange vest and he'll help you.
Okay.
You ought to see what the guy in the excavator can do between that thumb and the bucket.
Yeah.
Stick it right in the front
You
door.
probably set him right at the door.
That's right, set them right there. Our problem is gonna be access through our back door. We did a little, we've helped ourselves a little bit, but for them, for our delivery people to come through our back door, it's not user-friendly.
Sure.
And so that's gonna be our biggest issue, but with the sidewalks being open, you know, UPS can
Give
come
me a
down the
call.
sidewalk.
There was a gal down past Reader Street, was gathering up stuff from a garage sale or something. We just took the loader down there, loaded the bucket up with the loader and pulled it up to the back of her car.
Okay.
So we've got equipment, we can
All
move
right.
boxes, and we could probably put the forks on and just pick the trailer up and set it up against the door if you need
Okay,
to. So
all right, thank you.
we're more than happy to help out. And
All
what we will do with the access downtown, they are replacing the ADA ramps, so there will be portions of the sidewalk that'll be tricky, but what we'll do is all 4 corners on the 3 blocks get replaced.
Okay.
But we are gonna stagger one on one side of the street, and the next one will be on the other side of the street down the block. That way there's access.
Ooh, because I ride my pink scooter and I depend on those to get down the sidewalk to park in front of my store.
Don't drive through the wet concrete, we'll know who did it.
I won't.
How big is your crew? How many people do you have working here?
There will be about 16 guys here. So 2 full pipe crews, a concrete crew, and then as soon as we're ready, there'll be a road building crew come in. Anybody else? questions, concerns?
What time do you guys plan on digging out this next part of Idaho Street?
So we need to get the directional drills done underneath Helena
Mm-hmm.
and then tied in through Virginia. So it's probably gonna be, it won't be next week, it'll probably be the following week. We'll probably start out that Monday, tearing that out and getting that pipe in. And then, like I said, we'll get all the infrastructure put in and then open it back up. It'll be gravelled. But we are here 5 days a week. I do have people that live here that work for us. We'll have a water truck running around, trying to keep the dust down. If we miss a shift or something, give me a call.
So you're gonna hit this block the first week of May. And yet be able to be all the blocks done and paved by the end of May.
Well, now remember, we pushed it 2 weeks, so I did give myself an out where we could push till the middle of June. Because we were scheduled to start the first of, was it April? So we're 2 weeks behind, we lost a week to weather, we lost a week just to schedule pushes. So it is possible we're gonna look at the middle of June. Like I said though, as we progress, the streets will be open. They'll be gravel, but they will be open. But pave day, it's probably gonna take 3 to 4 days to pave these 3 blocks. So there will be no traffic on these 3 blocks of Idaho Street while they're paving.
There will be no traffic on Idaho Street while it's gravelled either, and that's just the reality.
We've done the same scenario in Anaconda, and it's worked out really well. You'll wind up with a better product. The ground will be a lot more compacted, the gravel will be a lot more compacted. You'll wind up with a better product if we let traffic run on it for a couple weeks. We've done this in Anaconda for the last 7 years, and it works out really well.
Any more questions or comments? Mr. Rankin, you've been awful quiet.
Oh, I think Mary Jo kind of answered my question with suggestion, whether they would be possible to have second reading so people could get this out before the city signed off on it. And the possibility of setting up some kind of outline, but Mr. Shumway has answered that. I've been preempted.
If you don't always answer my
So
phone, but leave me a
sorry.
message, I'll get back to you.
Well, thank you, everybody, for attending. We're all in this together. We all want the best possible product.
We all got water.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.